This episode of Techzilla is sponsored by Bank of America, Audible.com, and GoDaddy.com. Veronica's run away to the circus. Just kidding, she's at E3 this week, so we brought out the Grand Puppet Master himself right to the set to do your bidding in Veronica's stead. That would be Mr. Roger Chang. On today's show, what to do when your SLI gaming PC restarts over and over, immersing your electronics in water and having them function, even if there's baby drool. This is really cool. Wi-Fi N and Wi-Fi D, do they work together? And if so, how well? Plus, more of your viewer questions. Take your potty break if you need to, because Techzilla starts now. Welcome to Techzilla. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Roger Chang, seemingly a puppet master.
That's what you call yourself.
No.
I've seen your business cards.
No.
This is, by the way, is the man that produces Techzilla. So if you have a complaint, if you have a request, he's the one that makes them happen.
Hey, don't send the complaints to me.
You can send them to Techzilla at revision3.com. And you're probably wondering, fingers poised at a keyboard to make a complaint about where Veronica is. She's running around downtown LA for E3 this week, and hopefully she'll be chock full of gaming news when she gets back next week. Until that time, we have, of course, our beloved Mr. Roger Chang.
Yes, you will have to suffer the indignities of working with the man who's supposedly not your boss, but your manager?
Manager?
I'm trying to find a euphemistic phrase for that.
We've been working together for a decade, and it's so smooth. You can probably
Don't remind me.
Hey, important change starting this Saturday.
This episode you're watching right now will have been released on a Saturday.
And in case you got it on a Saturday and wondered where it was on Friday, Saturday is our new release date from here on out. They're basically trying to balance the loads at the mothership, and we got moved to Saturday.
It's really in the long-term scheme of things, I think it'll benefit everyone.
Stick to the script.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, anyway, speaking of E3, Microsoft announced that the Xbox Fall update will be providing Netflix support, which is really cool because Netflix has been really pushing their on-demand.
You're so excited about this.
It is. I finally find a use for my Xbox besides, Ninja Gaiden and Mass Effect.
So basically, instead of spending like $100 for a Roku Netflix box, this basically adds that functionality to...
Exactly. So, ideally when they put more shows and movies, hopefully more TV shows online through the service, you'll be able to get it through your Xbox. The only thing you'll need is a Netflix account and a Gold membership. So basically a subscription to Xbox Live Gold. So
what's a Gold membership cost?
I think it's $50 a year. Huh. So, and the thing is, you can actually share it with other Gold member Netflix subscribers. So if you have a movie or a show, you can share it off with them. So you can say, hey, watch what I'm watching.
And they can watch it at the same time?
Yeah.
Without paying?
Well, because they're already a Netflix subscriber.
Especially if they're unlimited.
Yes.
It's all coming together for me now.
All right. So there is no HD as of yet on Netflix, but when they do, it could be awesome. It could be awesome. I'm really excited. It's like,
He doesn't get excited about anything.
I know. It's finally, I got it. Ever since they killed the HDVD, I finally have a reason to use his remote that came with the HDVD drive for my Xbox.
They also finally have a good reason to use the hard drive.
Yes, that's going to be the kind of stickler because I only have 20 gigs. So minus the games, I got like 12.
Well, but
10.
they're also they're like allowing you finally to cache your games on the hard drive to speed load.
Yes,
stuff.
so again, I'm going to need more space. So I'm going to have to chuck out the, $150 they want for or $200?
A little bigger hard drive?
Yeah, for the 120 gig hard drive. Hopefully they'll drop it by then though, hopefully. They also introduced Xbox Prime Time, which is their version of let's roll out all the primetime shows that are out now through their delivery service on the Xbox Marketplace.
Primetime shows?
NBC, stuff from NBC, stuff from Universal, Sci-Fi Channel, USA Network.
Cool.
So, 30 Rock, 30 Rock and stuff already online, but essentially I think it's going to be...
the convenience of your Xbox.
Yes, it's going to be that home media PC they've been, touting for the past 8 years.
Hopefully Veronica will have all the deets next week.
Yes. Now we have a correction to make from last week.
We have an addition to make.
Oh, okay, an addition.
No, Veronica and I did a bunch of research, right? We asked, you answered about for ideas about Blu-ray support for playback Blu-ray movies in OS X after Jeff's question last week. And we kind of skipped the whole idea because yes, you could run Windows using PC software and run Windows in a virtual environment such as VMware or Parallels or VirtualBox, but it would certainly work, but you'd be like $110, $150 for the operating system plus $80 for the software plus having to run the virtual version. It would work. Don't get me wrong, it would definitely work.
But a viewer, Kyle, found a better solution. You can actually add Blu-ray support to Toast Titanium 9 through an add-on or plug-in, $19.99. So $20, and if you have the full-on version of Titanium or Toast Titanium 9,
Toast Titanium 9.
Yes, you will, and it's kind of cool. Basically, it allows. See, I'm borrowing your phrasage. Essentially, what it allows you to do is use that Blu-ray drive or disc
to play movies.
Then you can burn content onto it. So instead of having it, cache all that data and then copy it like you would a DVD, you can write to it directly as as it fills up slowly.
Which has nothing to do with playing back Blu-ray movies, but
it's a cool function.
It's cool. It's a $100 piece of software. If you want the ultimate burning software, and I'm sure I'm going to email about this, ultimate burning software for OS X, I think Toast is pretty much it.
I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want?
It's a legend.
It's what, 50 gigs or Blu-ray storage goodness?
I'm working on it.
Can you imagine?
I'll just take another hard drive. 1.5 terabyte hard drives got announced this week. 1.5 terabyte, and the word is that 4 gigabytes are coming in the none too distant future.
You mean 4 terabytes?
Yes. 1.5 terabytes announced and released by Seagate this week.
So finally, what you're saying is I should put off the $68 like 500 gig special that's out this week.
You can get 750 gigs for like $100 on Newegg right now. I guess because they're making room for all the 1 terabyte and 1.5 terabyte drives.
I wonder if those NAS devices support capacities that large.
Oh yes, they do.
All right.
Email questions?
Yes. I think we've burned up enough time in the beginning.
Let's get started with our first email, which comes from John down in Bakersfield, California. He writes, what's the best way to back up my driver so I can install a fresh copy of Windows? I just spent an entire day tracking down drivers because it never occurred to me to save a copy of each driver first. I don't want to ever waste all that time again. Oh, John. We feel your pain.
It's actually quite simple. When you do track those drivers, as I believe you did, keep them in a folder, or keep them on a drive, keep them on a thumb drive.
Labeled drivers.
And save them, and if you want, you can even, slipstream them into your next OS install or XP install disk. You'll have that all there, so all you have to do is plop in the disk to install.
What do you think about stuff like Driver Max, where it's supposed to back up your drives?
I've used it. It was actually something I was looking at, and it works well for drivers that are commonly known. For more esoteric devices, sometimes it doesn't exactly pull the right one. But for the most part, it works. The only issue I have is a lot of people have complained it's a free product. You have to register it. You put in your email address. They've gotten spam to that email address. So, I mean, you can put up a dummy account and have that all sent over there and try it out and see if that works. Driver Max is really good if you already have a pre-built system or you just bought one used secondhand from someone else, and you want to ensure you have all the correct drivers.
You don't know exactly what's on it.
Exactly. It allows you to pull that off. So you can go that. Best way, though, is to actually download the latest drivers because you don't want old drivers on it, just in case there's patches, hardware fixes, or any kind of incompatibility fixes that you need to correct.
If you don't have more than one, if you don't have 2 or 3 machines at home when you're rebuilding a machine, definitely take the time. I got to admit, I basically take the time to check for every single driver I need for this, just to make sure, because I have a drivers folder, it's got all the last drivers I downloaded, and then I turn around and basically check to see if there's a new driver available.
And especially now, there's a big push toward Vista. Certain companies do no longer provide XP drivers for certain devices, which is really irritating, especially for notebook manufacturers, which is beyond me.
Not that you're angry or bitter.
Because, Sony Vaio shouldn't have XP drivers, even though the model came with it last year. No, you got to track down to each individual manufacturer and beg them to
instead of having them all in one place at Sony.
It's come on.
Did I mention bitter?
I'm not bitter.
You're bitter.
It's time now you're gonna give people the impression that I'm a bitter, cranky old person.
Yeah, I don't need the help. It's time now for a short message from one of today's sponsors. Remember, folks, support us by supporting them. This message is from Bank of America.
I want to talk to you about your banking fantasies. Don't hold back. What do you wear when you bank? I mean, would you be in a bubble bath? Where would you be?
I'm on top of the mountain in the Swiss Alps, not too high for wireless access.
Transferring funds, maybe.
Wow, it's hot.
It's time once again for the Techzilla Gadget of the Week. It's where we showcase that one gadget, gizmo, or widget that makes our lives so much easier. We can't wait to tell you about it. This week's pick, one of my favorite things in the world, CRC's QD electronic cleaner. Yes, I hear the gasps of joy coming from the audience already. I have no idea what a precision cleaner is supposed to be, but I do know that CRC's electronic cleaner smells like alcohol, consists of a petroleum distillate, alcohol-based cleaning fluid powered by CO2, so there's no CFCs to harm the ozone, and will flame on like the torch if you shoot it at something very, very hot or very, very sparky. I use it like an alcohol-soaked Q-tip in a can to clean particularly cruddy bits of electronic components and electronics where a Q-tip or a rag with rubbing alcohol just won't cut it, like the underside of a PCB board, like a printed circuit board when it's got all the little spiky soldered ends, from motherboards that have mice living on them, to earpiece jacks on cell phones, to spraying life back into the dead tailgate lowering lock switch on the tailgate of an old 4Runner. I've used this for a ton of stuff. It doesn't melt plastic or nylon or fiberglass or PVC. It doesn't leave a residue, and I've got 3 cans of it stashed at home because it's stupid useful. Check it out if you find yourself cleaning electronics and you want to make sure you don't want to damage them. It's just that easy. Are you good for another round of your emails, oh fabulous co-host of mine?
Yes, Patrick, I am. In fact, this one comes from Mark, and he writes, I connect to the internet using an option GT Max 3.6 Express HSDPA UMTS Edge AT&T modem on my notebook.
M-O-U-S. Sorry.
Running XP Pro with BG Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. How can I share my internet connection with my iPod Touch, other computers, desktops, and notebooks when I'm on the road, and my PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii when I'm at home?
Okay, Mark, this is a fun question for me because I basically live with a U727 modem. I use Sprint as my service, and it's basically a cousin to what you have, an EVDO modem. And I want to say one thing. It's not going to work great. If you want to do gaming, this is not going to be the solution for you because, I said solution, I'm never allowed to say solution, because the lag time on an EVDO modem is hideous. Even though the download speeds are pretty good, any type of gaming that requires a decent response time or ping time, not going to work so well. Now, that said, if you want to basically share your connection from your modem, in your case it's an express card modem, in other cases it's USB or a PC card, basically turn on internet connection sharing. It's free, it's in Windows already, and it'll basically use your Wi-Fi that's built in or your Ethernet jack to take the IP packets from your modem basically and spit them out to the rest of the devices in your house. Now, you can also, if you don't want to basically be the router for your friends and gadgets everywhere you go, buy an EVDO router. It works like a home broadband router for your DSL or cable modem and lets you plug your card in and offers network and Wi-Fi ports.
Isn't that the one you picked up for the Wi-Fi truck?
Yes, actually, after the insanely frustrating experience of trying to get...
Okay, so this man goes out of his way to essentially cobble together this very device here, and then the next day he realizes, hey, Roger, they actually sell this in the store.
Well, no, what it was is originally, right, Kyocera was the first one out with a device like this. So in this case, it's designed to work with USB devices and PC cards. There's a big PC card slot in the back. It's got an 802.11g router in it and a bunch of LAN ports. Kyocera had the first one. They were originally like $300 or $400. So my idea is we're going to take IPCOP and cobble together some kernel hacks to allow it to address the EVDO modem. It was emotionally traumatizing, and I never actually got it to work. Somebody else paid Brandon a bunch of money, and basically then we went into CompUSA, and they had like 50 of these for under $100.
Oh, that's right. The CompUSA were going out of business sale.
Yes.
I picked up a laptop. He picked up that.
So yeah, I scored the DIR 450 from D-Link when CompUSA went out of business. Now, there's a huge amount of buzz in the EVDO communities online around Cradlepoint's products. Their CTR 500 cellular travel router promises to work with your modem, and it's available pretty cheap online. So if you don't want to basically use internet connection sharing inside of your computer or your Windows XP box there, and just search for Microsoft Internet Connection Sharing, they've got a great and detailed document that'll tell you how to set it up. You can pick up something like this D-Link, the DIR 450, or the Cradlepoint box, and basically use this as your router wherever you go.
You know what? That would be awesome if you do like carpooling and you and 4 other people like, you know, are traveling to work together.
That was the original idea, is to use it like as a ski truck,
and
so that we have 3 or 4
everyone's
people.
just typing away, or one of those, you know, shuttle van things that go to the airport and back.
And conveniently, there's a 12-volt input, so I can wire it directly into the car.
That's awesome.
Isn't that exciting?
That's cool. Actually, you know what? I might have to pick one up. All right, Pat, I think we do have a video email.
I like that thought.
Rob has a question, but I think Rob is much better at asking his question than I am.
Hello, Patrick and Veronica. I had a question about wireless networking. Does having a wireless N router with only a wireless G receiver and a laptop boost signal strength and/or area, as well as are they even compatible? Thanks.
All right, Rob basically has a wireless N router. He has wireless G Wi-Fi in his notebook. Are they compatible? And does wireless N give him more range?
Okay, hopefully he doesn't have one yet. He's thinking about buying one.
Yep.
Now, can N give you more range? Yes. Can it give you higher speeds? Yes, but it's not going to work with the 802.11g that's inside your notebook. You're going to need an adapter in your notebook, whether it's a USB adapter or an express card adapter or a PC card adapter. To get the benefits of N, you're going to need N in the client in your notebook. Now, N isn't G. I think I've made that clear. Next up, N should deliver better performance than G vis-a-vis like if you're in a bad building, if you've got a lot of concrete, or for example, we work in a Faraday cage that masquerades as an office building, and this is where RF signal goes to die. N works better in this building than G does.
Only if you have N on both ends.
Yes, you need N in your notebook and an N router. Now, if you're not moving massive files around, you're probably never going to notice the extra speed N promises at the top end. But if you're looking to be able to browse the web under an apple tree in the backyard instead of, say, at the back of the house, N could probably do the trick for you.
So, I mean, has N, speaking of N, I mean, has the specs finally been formalized and just set in stone? So you don't have all this pre-N router stuff. So the reason why I ask is a few people have asked me, it's like, I want to get like, you know, a faster Wi-Fi, but when I go to the store, I see all this pre-N.
Right.
Does that mean there's going to be a post-N or there's going to be an N?
No, N's pretty, I was hoping not to get into this. And the N spec is pretty much done. Any devices that are being sold now should be able to basically take a firmware or software update and make them completely compliant with the final standard. And in the last 6 months, I've had a lot better luck with interoperability on N devices from different manufacturers. So I should say in the last few months, 6, 8 months ago, actually about a year ago, I actually had stuff where D-Link products wouldn't work with Linksys products, and now they seem to all be playing together a little bit better.
That's good.
I'm okay with buying N at this point.
I still got a G router.
I don't particularly need N at this point, but if you're thinking about moving to N, it should be safe.
Now, if you want to get your 15 seconds of internet fame, just send us a video. All you need to do is record yourself in front of a video camera asking your question, no longer than 15 seconds, please. And then upload your video to YouTube. Email us the link with video question in the subject line, but please, please, please do not send us any attachments. So don't be shy and send us those video emails because we would love to see your face. It's nice to be able to kind of put an image around the email. You know, it's kind of cool.
A face with a name.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Neat. We've got another new sponsor on this episode of TechZilla, Audible.com. Remember, support us by supporting them. I'm getting ready for some serious road tripping this summer, and I'm starting to fall in love with audiobooks. Well, you know, for doing some reading while I'm doing those crazy 9-hour drives across Nevada. Now, even if your commute is 20 minutes on the train, audiobooks are a great way to catch up when you're reading. Frankly, they're good for the beach, the plane, the gym, and all the folks in the TechZilla audience can score a free audiobook. Just go to audible.com/TechZilla to get a free audiobook download of your choice when you sign up today. My next book, the unabridged version of David McCullough's biography of John Adams, 30 glorious hours and a single minute of one of the most pivotal characters in U.S. history. And yes, there is an abridged version. It's only 9 hours long, which is not quite San Francisco to Salt Lake City.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. Today's pick, Pandora. If you style yourself a music connoisseur, then Pandora just might be the last online music tool you'll ever need. Based on the work done by the Music Genome Project, which has analyzed tens of thousands of songs down to the most fundamental level, Pandora directs you to music it thinks you'll enjoy based on your pre-existing musical tastes. All you need to do is enter the name of an artist you enjoy, select Create a Station, and Pandora will begin streaming a whole range of artists and bands with similar genres and similar styles to the ones you picked. Giving each song a thumbs up or a thumbs down helps Pandora learn your musical taste, and it will adjust the music accordingly. Once you've fine-tuned a radio station, you can share the link with your friends. You can't download the songs, but it does give you a link to buy the song either through iTunes or Amazon. What's even better is that after you've created a listener profile, you can connect with your friends to find out what they're listening to or meet new ones with similar tastes. So next time you get sick of the 40 gigabytes of tunes you have on your iPod, give Pandora a try. Our next email comes from Rob. He writes, "Booyah, I got an iPhone 3G. Now I want to protect it without detracting from the style of the phone or looking like a dork. Can you review some of the options available and what, if any, you use?" Rob in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh man, I'm actually holding off on putting a case on the 3G. One, because I want to get one in for testing, actually some cases in for testing, and two, because I haven't had the 4 hours to wait online to get one yet.
You know, and it's not like it's a diminishing resource. There's going to be plenty of phones in a couple of weeks, folks.
I don't know, there seems to be a non-diminishing source of people waiting on lines.
Well.
In any case, for my first generation iPhone, I can tell you two things. One, putting an invisible shield cover on the screen kept it from getting trashed, and I dropped my iPhone a lot. My iPhone is incredibly beat up. I should have left my OtterBox case on it, though I'm not sure if the OtterBox case would actually pass your dork test. You can see where the aluminum case actually got bent in here. It's been dropped on asphalt. It's been dropped on concrete. But the screen is actually in perfect shape because of the invisible shield that's on there. Now, frankly, any kind of case, a silicone sheath, whatever, will protect the finish. When you want to protect it from denting, and the 3G iPhone, because it's plastic, should be about 1 billion times more resistant to denting than the original iPhone's aluminum case. That's this one. You need something more substantial. I really wish Yotank made an iPhone case, though it's not exactly pocket friendly. They basically have those milled aluminum
nice.
iPod cases. They're pretty sick. And what I really wish came from the factory with every cell phone I've ever owned, though, is this new stuff I saw demoed in our kitchen last week. You're looking right now at a BlackBerry with no cover and no case running just fine underwater. It's been coated with something called the Golden Shellback Splash-Proof coating. Now, many of you know my iPhone, this one right here, suffered a rather ignominious death from the dreaded baby drool when my child used it as a teething device. And after after about 2 days of drying, I got it kind of running again. Now, even if my baby had been drooling oils or synthetic fluids or hazardous materials, dust, dirt, or water-based solutions, the Golden Shellback coating would have protected it. This stuff is really slick. It's a waterproof polymer, doesn't conduct electricity, and they apply it in a really interesting way that I can't talk about without the dreaded lawyers closing in, beyond to say that it's done in a vacuum. It coats the inner and outer surfaces of the electronic devices, including everything inside of it, with this basically clear coating. And actually, check this out. This is actually a piece of paper from 1636 they coated, and it came out of the water just fine. This VHF radio was run underwater for over 455 hours, minus breaks to charge the battery and to solder on a new battery connector after electrolysis ate away the positive battery terminal. It's not available to the public just yet. They're hoping to have it available soon. When it is, you're going to have to send the company the device that you want protected by the Golden Shellback process. Local stores might have the equipment to apply the coating, but it's a little early to tell where you're going to be able to get it done. It's not on sale yet, but we estimate the price is going to be around $50 to $75 depending on the size of the item. Keep an eye on golden-shellback.com for more info. This is really cool. We had people, while they were demoing this, you walked in.
I was there. I was like, dude, you should, if I can coat a PC that way, and like the inside, like the motherboard, the video cards, and drop it in, I could do away with the fancy cooling and just cycle in with an aquarium pump, just the cold water through the whole
you could
thing.
do it with mineral oil now, but
well, I mean, but with water.
With water, absolutely. It's pretty amazing. Essentially, yeah, the polymer gets to coat.
Believe me, you think it's honestly you think it's a scam until you actually physically handle it yourself. You think it's a trick, it's done with mirrors, it's not really water. But I can assure you that stuff is pretty awesome. And yeah, think about all the things you could coat. You could coat electronics, people, babies.
Actually, they had stainless steel hardware that they coated, uncoated and uncoated hardware. Basically, as if you're using it from the deck of a ship that they had under salt water, basically stored in salt water.
Rust protected. So finally, there's that sealant that automotive manufacturers or automotive dealers supposedly add to the bottom of the car to protect it against, the salt that they add during the winter to melt the ice. Do you think it would work? I think it would work. Actually, he said what's interesting is he said he could actually, the inventor, and we got a link to all the information on him on the website, actually said he's coated sugar cubes to prove that the coating works, because it's very obvious if you take a coated sugar cube and an uncoated sugar cube and drop them in water. He's pretty sure he can actually encase an ice cube in the material, and then the water would melt inside of it.
I want to thank actually John from gcaptain.com for the heads up on this one. This is really cool stuff.
All right, enough of the ceiling. I think we need to move on to a next question. This one comes from David, and he writes us, whenever I do some heavy gaming on my dual 4850s, give up and reboot. When I look at the temperature, it reaches 90 or so degrees. Idling runs around 80 degrees. What can I do to bring those temps down? David.
Oh boy. What do you think the most likely possibilities of causing these cards to misbehave are?
So in my experience, there's probably two likely culprits. One, your PC is overheating because you have those cards, you have a really high-powered CPU. Unfortunately, your case doesn't have enough ventilation in it, and all that heat's building up, and it's just cooking everything. And your CPU,
so better fans or better ventilation?
Better fans, better ventilation. When it gets too hot, sometimes the CPU will automatically turn off to avoid baking the chip.
Which is not a bug. That's a feature.
Yes, it's to ensure that the $300 you spent doesn't become, oh, I spent $300 and it doesn't work anymore.
And left the heatsink off and turned the motherboard on.
Second possibility, and I've actually had this happen to me, is that your video cards, especially when you 3D game, certain parts in the game where there's a lot of elements that has to crunch out a lot of textures, is probably yanking so much power from your power supply, it's actually turning it off, it's tripping it.
So if it's that 3-year-old 350 watt power supply that came with a low-cost PC you bought way back then, time for an upgrade?
Could very well be. My story, I had a 450 watt Antec, and that was fine for the longest time. And then I bought an ATI X800, and it was working great. I mean, there was no issue whatsoever. I was playing Titan Quest, I was playing Fear, I was playing... Until for some reason one day I got into this really difficult level, and if they, hear the thing start winding up really hot, and then it just clicks and it reboots. It just totally I just lost my, I lost literally 2 hours of
hot and heavy
jumping, and it's like I forgot to save, so I was really upset. And I realized after talking to Robert Hearn that it's like, yeah, your power supply sucks. It's like, what? No, it's like your power supply sucks. What happens is when there's too much voltage draw on a single rail, it's going to trip.
A circuit breaker? Or?
It's essentially inside the power supply to avoid a fire, right? Because the last thing you need. A lot of power supply manufacturers started introducing what they call multi-12-volt rails to basically supply enough power to those various components. However, some manufacturers, PowerPC Cooling being chief amongst those, believes that you should only have one single rail because it's the most efficient use. So instead of having like two separate rails, each with a limited capacity, even if this one isn't being drawn as heavy, it cannot supply that extra capacity to the other rail.
So if you have a single rail, it basically splits its total capacity amongst any connection on the system.
No matter what the draw is, because there's only a single rail, there's always that headroom capacity.
Oh, that's interesting. So he could actually try maybe switching the connectors he uses to power his graphics cards.
You can try that. And if it's an older power supply, if it's somewhere in the 5 or 500 or lower range, and you have those dual 4850s, those GPUs run hot, and they do chew a lot of juice when they get up to speed. They're great at idle if you're surfing the web, not doing anything. They're really quiet, but once you start pushing out the pixels, it does require a lot more power. So power supply, in my estimation, is probably the most likely culprit. You might want to look online, get like a Seasonic 650, one of those 80 plus, because they're a lot more efficient. More of the AC is converted directly to DC and not wasted as heat.
So would you start out by maybe taking the case, turning it on its side, opening the lid, and like blowing a house fan at it to see if that solves the card problem first?
Pop the side off.
Or would you calculate the wattage of every device in the computer and add another 100, 200 watts and buy a new power supply?
The thing is, the ones that offer the connectors for the SLI are going to be around the 600 and up range already.
Oh, watts. I thought you meant dollars.
Oh, no.
Expensive.
You're going to be spending, I mean, honestly, you'd be looking around 130, 150 bucks.
Right.
And it's not a lot.
And you can get really nice fanless ones now that make no noise. They're silent.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about adding up the components, but the way they sell them now, it's just like if you want the dual video card.
It's basically a 600 watt power supply.
Or up. And if you want to go crazy, you can go with a 1K. That I wouldn't recommend just because, I mean, really. unless you have like you're running 4 video cards.
The last power supply you'll ever buy until Intel changes the power pin spec on the motherboard again.
Believe it or not, I know this is a total tangent. There's actually a limit. Most homes only have 15 to 20 amps on a circuit. You're not going to go beyond that. And if you get a power supply that needs more than that, well, you probably won't be in a home. You're probably going to be in a special facility using, the electrical outlet for your, electric powered dryer to do it.
1,000-watt power supply should only be 8 amps.
No, but once you start, well, yeah, but so you're telling me when you go home and you plug stuff into the outlet, there's only one thing for that entire circuit?
Oh, well, you got a point. 8 amps is a huge draw. Let's not even go there. Before we go on, though, we got to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. These are the folks that make this episode possible and every episode of TechZilla. Remember, without them, you can't have your weekly dose of your favorite tech show. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has whatyounneed.com names for as little as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. You can get reliable, secure web hosting without the long-term contract. You like that idea? No long-term contract? GoDaddy's hosting plans are bigger and better than ever with 99% uptime, free 24/7 tech support, and no annual commitment. And if you're looking to drive viewers to your video content, and who isn't, you can get a .tv domain name and stand out from the crowd. .tv domains are perfect for podcasters, video bloggers, and anybody with something to say. They're available now at GoDaddy.com, and oftentimes if you can't get the .com name or it's $4,000, you can get the .tv name for a lot less. And if you want to spend even less than a lot less, entering code TECH2 when you check out, you're going to save an additional $5 off of any order of $30 or more. Some restrictions apply. Do us a favor and check GoDaddy.com for the details. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and support TechZilla by supporting them. The name I meant to mention before, actually, it's Sidney Martin. Mr. Sidney Martin, the Director of Technology at Northwest Maritime Institute, is the guy that came up with the golden shellback protection. It is so cool. I never get excited about anything like this.
Golden shellback?
Golden shellback. It's a turtle reference.
No, I understand that, but that's just cool, the shellback.
Shellback.
Usually you refer to something shellbacked as...
I just couldn't believe we poured water over a keyboard. It was crazy.
No, he immersed it in water, underwater, and I was still using it. That's awesome.
And my iPhone would not have been destroyed by my beloved child.
All right, Patrick, I do believe it's time for some emails.
Smurfly. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that anymore.
Smurfs. Smurfs. You know, it's a Belgian cartoon, which I loathe ever since I was a kid. But anyways,
You loathe the Smurfs?
Yes, I
Do you hate Winnie the Pooh, too?
No, Winnie the Pooh is a much better archetypal character. Any case, let's jump into the next question. This one's from Devin. Devin is dumbfounded. He writes, on numerous shows recently, it has been mentioned that Twitter is such a great service and is so addictive. Went to the site, checked out the service, expecting a great internet experience, but I don't get it. Really, I don't understand why the service is actually useful. Maybe I misunderstood the function of the service. Why are people so geeked about Twitter?
I think geeked, Devin, is your operative word in that sentence.
Yes, it's the thing.
It made no sense of me until I started looking at, because I know all these people, and I'm in the Silicon Valley. I know these people who are like Web 2.0 in a stick, like Kevin Rose, and everybody's excited about Twitter. And you look at the Twitter.com page, and you're like, huh?
You know Kevin Rose?
Kevin Rose, and known him for years. But what's weird, right, if you look at something like Twirl or Halo or some of the other clients, and they put together these conversations because it's all about having a group of people that interact together.
Yeah, I mean, I could cynically say that you need more friends online, but the key is that it's a way to connect with people you already know. It's not just a tool that, like, say, a game,
right,
where you can play by yourself. You can go on to a different level. You don't need anyone to help interact with. Twitter is one of those social networking devices that's designed for you to connect with someone else. So say you have a friend who doesn't, you don't keep in touch with on a regular basis, but you're still kind of curious what he does. He can Twitter say, hey, I'm going to the supermarket to pick up, some bread and eggs. And you can write back, like, oh, you're going to make French toast like you did in college. Ha, ha, ha.
So it's like
exactly
it's like public IMing.
It's like a delayed public message board IM mismatch.
With a 144 cap?
Yeah,
character limit?
There's a definite character limit, so you're not going to be writing a huge, dissertation or anything. A screed or even a diatribe. But it's a nice way to kind of get contact with people. Now, if you want to, you can also follow other people where you don't necessarily need to reply, but you can find out what people are doing. Say you want to find out what Patrick's doing, you go to twitter.com/ Patrick Norton.
Yes.
And then you can find, oh, Patrick Norton, I'm going to the market to get bread and eggs, but I don't like French toast. What will I make?
Not to take anything away from your bread and egg metaphor, but like, twitter.com/Veronica is Veronica Belmont, and she posts links or interesting stories. I tend to, I have a bunch of people who I ping the audience to get basically everybody on Twitter to see what they think, what's your favorite antivirus, or if I find a really cool thing like those 750 gigabyte drives for no money, I'll
Devin,
post that on Twitter.
If you understand how IAM, the benefits of IAM, it's like an IAM, except instead of going it single file to one person directly, you're kind of doing a shotgun effect. You're basically sending it out to a multitude of people.
Yeah.
So you're saying, like, like Patrick says, hey, I'm going to be over at this place. Who wants to meet up there? And then you can, out of 100 people, you might get like 10 or 20 that's like, yeah, I can meet over there.
Or, hey, why don't you come to Z-Bar, because a bunch of us are already here.
Exactly, which I used to get, but no more because I never showed up.
In any case, it's fun. We play around with it. It's like any other social networking site. You'll either enjoy it or you won't. I don't have a MySpace presence or a, what's the other one?
Friendster. MySpace is fun. MySpace didn't make...
Facebook.
Facebook, but you don't have MySpace.
I don't have Facebook.
You don't have Facebook, but you do have a MySpace page.
No,
MySpace is great.
I've got a Twitter.
It only became fun to me after everyone left for Friendster. Kid you not. I started joining all these.
Business?
Yes.
Okay. I just always hear people talking about Facebook now.
Oh, not Friendster. You're right. Facebook. My bad.
Mostly.
Anyways, you can tell Roger doesn't do a lot of the social networking that Veronica does.
Veronica is the expert on this one, but check out Twirl and a list of other Twitter clients in Texilla episode 31, where we give you some alternative ways to access Twitter. And Texilla.com, Twitter.com/Veronica for Veronica Belmont, Twitter.com/
Oh, Jolly Roger, as in the pirate flag, Jolly Roger.
Twitter.com/Patrick Norton, all in one word. If you're curious and want to see what we're doing on Twitter, please come check it out. Another question?
Yes, let's squeeze one more in before the end of the show. Right, this last question comes from Patrick, not this one, a different kind of Patrick. This Patrick asks us, I hear you're talking about updating the BIOS for more performance. How do I update the BIOS on my PC? I have an MSI 945 PL motherboard. Do different manufacturers have different methods of updating the BIOS? Patrick.
Yes, actually. There's a number of things that are universal across pretty much every motherboard vendor. One, you want to back up your critical data first. Two, you need to make sure you've got a device that's compatible with your motherboard. Whether some motherboards, older motherboards, are going to need a floppy drive if you can find one. Newer motherboards are pretty good about using things like USB thumb keys or the ever popular, basically, and this is a little spooky. I haven't tried it with any of them yet, but people say you can actually do it from inside of your operating system now.
Yes, and it's some of the manufacturers, I think, it's the other company that starts with an A, not Asus, Abit. Used to provide a tool, I think they still do, that allows you to install through Windows, and what it does is it actually has a buffer, caches it, and then you have to reboot, and then it does the update that way.
Now, the reason we get a little apprehensive about it is your BIOS is essentially, it's kind of like the reptile part of your brain that controls, your heartbeat and your breathing. So when you replace the BIOS, you basically take, it's basically like rewriting the reptile part of your brain. So normally you would start onto a special application, like a little operating system on a disk. It's basically, it'll be like Super BIOS Update or BIOS Update or WinBIOS Update or BIOS Updater 101, whatever. Basically, you use whatever comes from your motherboard's manufacturer. You only use BIOS updates from your motherboard manufacturer or your PC vendor's page, and you follow their instructions explicitly.
Now, what I did with my Intel board, you go to the dock, it says, you can do this from a flash drive or a CD. We recommend the CD.
Why is that?
It's because depending on what kind of flash drive you have, who makes it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on, the various components inside the flash drive. CD is pretty much, boneheaded simple. You burn out the ISO that they send to you or you download, you plop it in, you set your burner or CD drive as your boot device. You go in, drops, it does it, as long as you do not have any interruptions. So make sure no one's around your PC ready to kick out the power or anything like that. That said, I normally do not do a BIOS update unless I'm having upgrade issues. Like to upgrade to a newer processor with my board, I do have to update the BIOS to clock up to a higher front side bus. Or I have stability issues or I have compatibility issues with new hardware that I want to install.
Yeah, see, I love to do BIOS updates. I'll either never do a BIOS update on a machine for the 5 years I own it, or I'll do it every time I find to do BIOS.
But what's cool...
Neither of which are rational approaches to this.
The advantage, though, besides stability, is sometimes motherboard manufacturers include additional functionality to, say, clock the memory
Right.
by a few more percentage points, or to clock the front side bus separate from the CPU.
Have you ever noticed a performance improvement after updating a BIOS?
I have actually never had a performance
A detectable performance boost?
that supposedly in some cases is supposed to speed up the
Right.
boot process, but in my ham-fisted, yeah, it's about the same. I couldn't really tell. It wasn't like a noticeable increase. It has, however, done wonders for stability. I've had issues where Windows would just like come up with errors, or hardware would suddenly unmount like from my device page. And after doing the update, all those just disappeared. So if you have problems with stability, yeah, update. If there are...
When you says that, like if your machine randomly quits and you don't know why, or you put in a new graphics card and it hurts, or it's always good to regularly check your motherboard manufacturer's basically download section to see if they have a BIOS update.
And then check on the forums. If you're doing it specifically for performance, check out like Hard OCP, check out a lot of the overclockers forums to see if there are any benefits, because you don't really want to go through the process of that if it's either minuscule or you might have issues with stability, like some really aggressive overclockers want to get the beta builds of the BIOS. They get them in, and yeah, they can overclock it, but at the cost of having stability, having that machine wonk out right when they're like sending up a web page or they're doing something important.
The key thing is, though, follow the manufacturer's instructions. And basically find out who made your motherboard, or if you bought like a Dell or a Gateway or an HP machine, go to their website and follow their instructions for updating your BIOS. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions for updating the BIOS. Do it the way they want you to.
Yes.
And don't do it if there's thunderstorms, or if you live in one of those parts of Jersey or Texas where AC kills the electricity every afternoon at 4, because losing your power while you're doing a BIOS upgrade is generally a very bad thing.
And really don't do it just because you want to see what happens, unless you have a good reason. Because in my personal experience, it's not such a good thing.
So you're basically of the only fix it if something's broken rule.
Or there is a noticeable improvement that can be verified by other people. It's like, yeah, I've upgraded and it works great. Now I can overclock by 5 times instead of just 3.
Cool. For all of you watching, we live on your questions, so email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need those emails, so don't be shy. Send them into techzilla@revision3.com. Even better, send us a video question so we can see your pearly whites up on the screen. Remember to upload them on YouTube and send us the link. No attachments, please. It's hard in our email servers, and it's really hard on basically when we're remote accessing them. No attachments. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum.
You can find more details at techzilla.com. It's been fun, Patrick, but I think I do have to go back there.
Back into the house of pain.
Well, because Veronica's coming back next week, and everyone loves Veronica.
Veronica's cool. She's smart. She's fun. She's perky.
And she'll have E3 information with her in her noggin.
Gaming. We want to thank you so much for watching. I got to run before he beats me senseless. You've been watching TechZilla. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Roger Chang.
I got to go. Speaking of Web 2.0, actually, speaking of this show, speaking of, I'm obviously on crack. Let's start on 2 and cut to 1. And remember, do us a favor, support us by support them. Back to 2 again, bust. 3, 2.
Whenever I do, okay.
And
Hold on. Easy there, cattle rustler.
I feel like a producer.